But I will say this, Nick has done a good job of controlling the team, and these guys buying into his system. I will say that.
The lid lifter on a new week here on Birds 365 with your Mac and Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald. Lucky enough to have our buddy Barrett Brooks join us for a good couple of minutes here today. Barrett, here's the first question I want to ask you. After watching the Eagles preseason this year, did you have to say to yourself, damn, I came along 15 years too early? With the amount of work that these guys are asked to do. I actually had to work for a living when I came into the National Football League. These guys kind of coast for a living in the NFL now.
I don't think they had 25 practices in all actuality. I think it's like 24, 23 practices. Only maybe 8 of them were full pads. It was like a breakfast club, man. I mean, I could play forever. I'd still be playing right now if I had those type of camps. Because, at the end of the day, these guys, I don't know how they get themselves in shape. They do. But, I mean, I don't know how they harden their bodies for a 16-game season. Now they're going 17 games. So, it's just different to me watching these guys. I mean, even little things like look on the sideline and, even the rookies that didn't dress for the game did not have pads on. I can remember when I was my first year, I had to wear pads. I started every single snap of the game in the preseason because they were getting me ready for the season. Trying to get me ready for a hard season. These guys didn't even have pads on. I was blown away by this, so it's just different, man. It's just way different, man. Way different.
Yeah, I mean, I said the same thing, Barrett, when I was there. I'm looking at Devontae Smith. Look, Devontae Smith is a tremendously talented kid. And I'm like, he's in street clothes with the Eagles gear on, just like Fletcher Cox. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
What is this? I mean, this is crazy, man. But it's just the nature of how things are these days, man. I don't understand it, But evidently, they feel as though they're good enough to go in and play an entire season. Going into this game. I guess they're ready to go into this next game, which really counts. But I'll tell you one thing right now. There's a lot of guys sleepless right now who didn't sleep a wink last night going into tomorrow.
By the way, I want to ask you about that from a player's perspective. So I get this Eagles schedule, and I'm like, I'm shocked by this. They're practicing today at 1:30. The cut down is Tuesday at 4. They're not going to let these guys practice, are they? Are they gonna kill these guys for what? Not kill them, obviously, because they're only going to be out there for 80, 90 minutes. But are they really going to make these guys who they're going to cut go through one last practice? Would they do that?
They don't have enough film on them, enough to evaluate them, really. I mean, the younger guys really didn't take that many reps, honestly, going into this preseason. So at this point, they still need to evaluate, all right, we're going to keep this guy. We're not going to keep this guy. We haven't seen enough.
If they don't have those answers, and they need a Monday afternoon practice to figure out who's going to be on this football team, I'm concerned.
I'm concerned anyway because J-Jaw, you're going to give J-Jaw a chance to be on this team with 3 plays? He made 3 plays the entire preseason. Is that enough to show you that he belongs on this team? I'm not hating against him, but I didn't see enough from JJ.
I got a better question for J-Jaw, Hightower, anyone else you want to put into that mix. Someone who's literally on the bubble of making the team or not making the team. Practice today. Ooh, there goes the hammy.
Right.
Off the hammy. Oh, I think I pulled limping off the field. Now we're talking about IR because if you want to release him, you got to release him with an injury settlement, which might not be conducive to the Eagles. John's exactly right. They make them practice today. I guarantee you we see some injuries for guys who don't know if or when they're going to make this team or not.
Well, if they were smart, they would definitely do that.
You can get 4 weeks pay.
No question, man.
Yeah, you can get 4 weeks pay. I'm shocked by it, but I do want to go down from your obviously mentality from a player's perspective, how difficult is this, post final preseason game to the cut down? I mean, you guys have been here since the spring. As you mentioned, it's a little bit different, but you develop relationships real quickly. This is the worst part of this industry, is it not?
It is. It is. It's the worst day. Tonight will be the worst night for a lot of guys because, I mean, this could eventually be the last time they play football. The last time they had pads on was this last game. And, it's a horrible fact that you had to go through the NFL. That's why they call the NFL not for long. It's a small sampling size of people that ever play this game. And, it gets even smaller after tomorrow night at 4:00. So, I mean, I feel for those guys. I understand what they're going through. In fact, let me give you a little quick story. I was rooming with Jerry Kraft. We call him Big Creamy.
Yeah.
And, it's the cut down night, and they're cutting people going into the morning. And he had a Desert Eagle in his backpack. And, somebody knocked on the door. And he thought it was we call him a knock man. The knock man is the guy that, that comes and say, hey, coach wants you to bring your playbook and he wants to talk to you. So somebody knocked at the door playing around. You know what I mean? I think it was Willie T, just playing around, like he's the guy coming to cut you. And we're already scared to death that we're about to get cut. He reaches down to his bag. I had to jump out the bed and grab his arm. Hey, man, what are you doing, bro? Put that down, man. Oh, man, I can't be cut, man. I had a great camp. How they going to come cut me? I know they're not cutting you. You're starting. They might be here to cut me. I was like, no, dude, chill out, man. Chill out. He put it back in his bag. He didn't even cut. So, we open the door. It's Willie T. He's the laughing and everything. That's, bro, if you only knew what was about to happen, man.
All right, Barrett, I'm going to take you into your wheelhouse. How many tackles are the Eagles keeping on their 53? And if you say the number is 5, is Andre Dillard one of those 5? If you're just deciding on who accomplished what in preseason, not where they were picked, not what assets have been used to acquire them, just evaluating what they've done. And if you want to put Dillard's previous either what he accomplished or lack of accomplishment prior to that, you can put that in the mix. But between he and Toth and LaRaven, does Dillard deserve to make this football team?
Absolutely not. I don't think he did enough. In fact, he did impress me in this last game. He did impress me.
He played well. He
played very well. He showed a little strength. He dropped his hips. Great technique. He was moving around well, man. So he showed that he can play. But it's just because your career is on the line right now. That's why you went out and play like. Why couldn't you play like that from the beginning of training camp? You know what I mean? He played phenomenally. And I don't care who he's going against. Those guys are still NFL players, but he played well. But that's what if I was going to keep him. If I was going to keep tackles on, I was going 4 tackles. I would go Jake Driscoll would be one of them.
Gotta keep Brett Toth. Gotta keep him. I can't cut that guy. I can't cut that guy.
No, Brett Toth and Jack Driscoll, they belong on this team. Number one, because you think of the way in which they think of these guys, they can play guard and tackle. They can play both sides. At this point, Andre Dillard only plays left tackle. That's the extent of what he plays on this team. That's the value he has is left tackle. They tried to move over to right. He didn't want to do it, so he didn't do it. You know what I mean? He played bad enough that he was like, all right, we're not going to put him back over there. But at this point, that's all he plays. I didn't see him take any reps this preseason on the right side. They were all left-sided reps.
Yeah.
So, he's going to be here just from where he was drafted. I know you don't want me to talk about it. He's going to be there because he's drafted, and he will be the 5th guy. But they'll look at Jake Driscoll and Brett Toth as guys that really belong on this team, but they'll keep them as like guards and Coyote. I think he really needs to stay on the team also as a guard. He's not going to be able to make it through waivers. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, it's an offensive line deficient league. But you brought up two guys, and obviously Andre Dillard, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So you were a second round pick. I want to get the player's perspective. Look, if you're a premium pick in this league, it's no surprise you get more opportunities than an undrafted guy. How does that go across in the locker room? When you see somebody like Andre Dillard, as you said, from a meritocracy standpoint, and you brought up J-Jaw, maybe they don't deserve to make this team, but they're probably going to make this team. How does that go over in the locker room?
It doesn't go over well. Guys will be making fun of them. Only reason you hear because, you got drafted so high. They made a mistake. They drafted you just too high. You know what I'm saying? Here I am busting my butt off, and I'm not going to make a team because this guy. I mean, I've seen it in a locker room happen where a guy gets cut, and the player's about to leave, and, he's walking through the locker room, and he's bringing his playbook. And so you're going to keep me over this guy right here? I mean, he's pointing at the guy that, made the team, and he's not. You going to keep him over this guy? Over him? Over him? He couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. You're keeping over him? Look at him. Look at him. He's the worst player I've ever seen as he's going out talking about this other kid, and it didn't bowl too well that, the player came back the next week on practice squad. But, after he had said that, guys looking like, yo, what's that all about? You know what I'm saying? Don't hate on me because you're getting cut. But, you see those type of situations. And then the respect factor is not there also. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because you're given, it's being handed to you. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to work for it. You don't have the same respect as a player that went out there and busted their rump to make the team and doesn't make the team. So, I mean, it's a terrible situation, a terrible feeling. And imagine being the guy that's doing this cutting. You know what I mean? Imagine that.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this one. And I love that story you just told about the perspective of a player as cuts are being made and your position and how you're going to handle your business and the like. It's so much easier now as a member of the media, Barrett, because it's not your livelihood. Right. You just get to sit back and analyze and go, I'll take this guy over that guy, so I'm going to make you do it right now. Ty McGill or Hassan Ridgeway.
Oh,
one of them's going to make the team. To me, the other one's not. One's going to be here. The other one's going to be cut, and it could come down in the next couple hours, as a matter of fact. You're an ex-offensive lineman. I need you to grade those two interior defensive tackles. Who's here, who's gone? Or do you disagree with me that they both make the team?
T. McGill, he deserves to be on this team. He showed explosive quickness. You had that veteran player, Hassan Ridgeway, but, you have a lot of veteran players there. You got Javon Hargraves. You got Fletcher Cox. These guys are your veterans, T.Y. McGill, he's played, long enough, in the league. What's his 6th or 7th year that he belongs to be on this team? He showed explosiveness, quickness, the ability to give a great pass rush. So I would keep him. He has the leg up in pass rushing. This is a pass rushing league. Hassan Ridgeway has the leg up in a run stopper. But this is a passing league, so you're not gonna really use him in that run block. Run block shedding capacity. T.Y., he can get up the field, create havoc, and create penetration. Penetration kills all run plays, and you need penetration in the passing game to stop and collapse that pocket. So I think T.Y. McGill, he made the difference in camp. He showed it in camp. He showed it in game type situations. And he's ready to stay. He's ready to take that next step.
Well, you mentioned decision-making, Barrett. So let's talk about the guy making the decisions. It's not the head coach. It's not Nick Sirianni. He'll obviously be involved, but it's the GM. It's Howie Roseman. So when you're talking about T.Y. McGill, he had a great preseason, as you mentioned, played well in practice, as we were able to see as well. But you start talking about the younger guys, and you start talking about how many of these late round picks can he keep? The Patrick Johnsons of the world, the Jacoby Stevens of the world. Do you find spots? Teron Jackson on the defensive line. Maybe you keep an extra defensive end instead of a defensive tackle. How much do you lean towards 2022, 2023 versus I just got to keep the best guy right now?
Well, this team, regardless of what it's saying as far as being a rebuilding year, they have to show something. This is fan base that, they care about football a lot more than most fan bases. So I'll say this: they want production right now. You know what I mean? And Teron Jackson showed me a lot this last game. He was formidable in the run and in the pass. But is he better than the other guys that are like a Josh Sweat? No, it's not even a comparison to Josh Sweat. Or, you look at, Patrick Johnson, he has a lot of learning to do. And, we probably have to keep an extra safety because of the fact that Rodney McLeod will probably be on the PUP list. Or if they do carry him on the roster, he won't be on the PUPs. I'm sorry, he won't be on the PUP list. He'll physically unable to perform list. He will be on the active roster. So when he does come in, he'll be able to go in and play. So you have to keep an extra safety because he's going to be on the roster. So that takes away from a spot from the defensive line or the linebacker positions. So this is going to be really, really hard for this GM to make those type of decisions, because a guy like Jacoby Stevens, who they see going into the future, he probably won't be on the roster. He probably will be try to, get him over to the practice squad. He's a tweener type of player, so I think he'll make it to the practice squad. But a guy like Patrick Johnson, he might not make it to that practice squad. Somebody might pick him up because he showed some ability to rush the passer. And there lies the problem. He might not make it to the roster.
Barrett, your take on Nick Sirianni as a play caller?
I'm still underwhelmed at this point. I didn't see any of the things that I thought I was going to see from a guy that has a quarterback that's mobile. I didn't see any boot protections, no waggle protections, where they pull over a backside guard and he's like a guy's going to block right in front of him, so he didn't get hit. I didn't see a lot of play action. I didn't see a lot of running the ball, So until I see his offense, I can't say that he's a good play caller. I can't say that he's going to run an offense that's, because this wasn't even a vanilla offense. This was a lot less than even vanilla.
Because
this is almost
joint practices, Barrett. It's right. About the joint practices. They do more in the joint practices than they do in the preseason games. Now, Nick has been honest about that. He said, look, I think I have an advantage early in the season. I can say they do more of that in practice.
Yeah, they do.
Than the preseason games. So I think you're going to see a lot of RPOs in Atlanta. I'll say that.
I can't wait.
Of RPOs.
Yeah, and that'll use Hurts' skill set. That'll put him in a position now to make the defense wrong either way. And we did see it in practice, But at the end of the day, I can't make an accurate assessment of who he is until I see those type of things. So his grade card is incomplete, because we have so many questions about what he's going to do in preseason. I mean, even on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Gannon's the same way. I mean, we saw all those different fronts, up front. We saw, a bear front where they covered the center and both guards. I saw a lot of that, when they bring Jannard Avery down and he's the, rushing defensive end / linebacker type of Sam type of player. We saw all those things in practice, but we didn't see it in the game. They didn't blitz in the game. Everybody else in the preseason was blitzing. They got blitzed with New England. They blitzed the heck out of them. I was watching the game, the other day where, Seattle was blitzing a lot. We're the only team that didn't blitz. We're the only team that didn't run the ball. We're the only team that didn't play action. We're the only team that was so vanilla. I wouldn't even call it vanilla. This flavor of ice cream would probably be like pistachio or something. You know what I mean? Because it just was not an offense that I could really see, all right, what he's going to hang his hat on. So I'm anxious to see this first game, and I can't wait. What do we have, 16 days or 13 days or something like that till the first game?
13 days.
Yeah.
13 days.
All right, Barrett, any truth to the rumor that was Eitan Shander who blew up your phone here on the show to say, what are you talking about? Knicks look great. The offense looks great. What do you mean vanilla offense? We look good on offense.
Well, that was a call. That was a call saying, all right, then, if it gets any more vanilla, we're going to need a new type of ice cream. But, I love it, man. I mean, I love all these unknowns going into the season, so I can't really make an accurate assessment where they're going to be at. I'm still saying they're going to be a lot better than what people think they are, but I will say this: Nick has done a good job of controlling the team, and these guys buying into his system. I will say that.
I want to go back to the offensive line for a second because I don't think enough people are talking about Landon Dickerson. He got hurt in December. So 9 months off an ACL would be mid-September for him, maybe late September. Do you really want to shut him down for 6 weeks, start him on the NFI list, or do you want him practicing at least somewhat as quickly as possible? The Eagles are on record saying they don't think this is going to be a redshirt season for him. So you want to shut down that big a part of the season for Landon Dickerson, or do you have to carry him on the opening 53?
I think they have to carry him on the opening 53 because, like I said, even though Toth and Toth can play and Driscoll can play guard, they're not really guards. They're tackles. So you need a guy like that. And at the end of the day, Kelsey's long in the tooth, so, you never know what's going to happen with him as far as health. Because, halfway through the season, each year he plays, he's held together by bubble gum and duct tape. You know what I mean? He's the walking wounded, you know what I mean? But, there might be a time where he's not going to finish this season, and you need a guy like Sam Bowler to move over the center, and then you need a high-quality guard coming in, and Landon Dickerson will be that guy. I see him as being that guy. Anytime you can pull off wearing, suspenders and cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, going to work, not just work, but a game, you got a lot of confidence in who you are, what you're showing everybody. So I see him as a guy they're going to carry into the season, which, there lies the fact that keeping, a guy like Andre Dillard is going to hurt you more so than help you.
Barrett, John and I both jumped on the record in the first segment of the show today. Need you to do the same here as well. About the Eagle acquisition this past weekend, that they added a starting level quarterback, last 2 years in the league, who's making NFL minimum and is signed for another year afterwards for a conditional 6th-round pick. So if you look at it in that vacuum, that's a pretty good trade for Howie Roseman. But we know life is more than just in a vacuum. So weighing everything in, what do you think about the Gardner Minshew acquisition?
It's a great acquisition, regardless of what goes on this season. He's there. He's a capable backup, backup to a backup. Give him some time to, to learn the system. But Gardner Minshew is a future pick for him. He can come in and start. He started games before, he's been that guy, plus he brings some character to that locker room. Some character to even that meeting room, because we have some bland quarterbacks, you know what I'm saying? We've always had bland quarterbacks. Yeah. He's good. He's a guy to bring some character. Yeah, he's going to bring some character. Anytime you can pull off a Fu Manchu, you're that guy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, his skill set, he can play. He was on a horrible team, though. He hadn't won many games, but he's definitely had the offense going in the right direction. He's not a dual threat quarterback, but he's very, very aware of what's going on in the pocket, and he adjusts very well. He can push the ball down the field. He can run that team. He could be a starter. And anytime you can get a player like that, it gives you a leg up in this quarterback factory, the quarterback factory we have. But,
Barrett,
he pulled it off.
We just went through this. So I don't know if you saw this, but Ben Standig from The Athletic, he does this thing every year where he talks to 35 agents or so and does sort of a poll. And one of the questions he asked is, who is the most untrustworthy general manager? And Howie Roseman got more votes than anybody else. Now, from a player perspective, you're Jalen Hurts. The Eagles just went through this with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts in the other end. Now you're Jalen Hurts. They haven't exactly got behind you 100%, to say the least. All the Deshaun Watson whispers. And now they bring in a guy, as you mentioned, he's a starting quarterback in this league. He's had some success. He's more proven than Jalen Hurts at the bare minimum. How do you trust Howie Roseman if you're a player on this team? We've seen it with Zach Ertz. Is that a problem?
You know what? In all honesty, I think besides the quarterback position and Hurts, I think players like him because he's great at what he's at. He's almost too he almost loves older players too much when it comes to, bring, because he had Alshon around way too long. He had Jason Peters around way too long and kept extending them and put them in a position where they were still on the team. So from a player's perspective, he's done right by a lot of players. He brought Alshon in on a 1 year minimum, not minimum, but top wide receiver, prove it deal. He ends up doing it, for it. He did it for a lot of players, and a lot of players showing that they liked him for that. Even Deshaun, he brought Deshaun back. So players like him in that aspect because he'll keep older players around longer than they should be. But the quarterback position is a different beast, man. You have to think a lot different. So at this point, I know he's just used to it. Hurts is just used to being a guy that, all right, everybody's just going to push me aside. So he's used to being in this position. So him, you couldn't find a better person to understand what it is, that your last rep is probably what you're going to be judged on. He understands that fully.
My last question, Barrett's going to be how he related as well, since you just gave a great answer there on how he handles players. How he made a trade after the last preseason game. Been there, done that. Kind of a staple of the Howie Roseman era here in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And he usually gets an extension done with a current player on the Eagles roster because they feel strongly about him. He gets to get some money in the bank, doesn't have to fear the injury, maybe get a little bit of a hometown discount, but both sides have to come up with a fair and compromised position that they want. A couple names have been thrown out, guys the Eagles may or have already been or should be talking to. They haven't gotten anything done. We'll even stretch it into the first couple weeks of the season. Eagles going to get a contract extension done with anybody on this roster?
A guy that I think that they're talking to and they really need to sign him is Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton's done an amazing job of playing and work his way into the starter. In fact, he's probably the best linebacker we have on the team right now. I think he's a step ahead of even Eric Wilson. So he's a guy, and Eric Wilson is another one of those guys. But Alex Singleton needs to be rewarded for what he's done. He came in as a Canadian football player, special teamer, and has worked his butt off and become a starter in this league. He'll probably have over 110 tackles this year. He's that type of player. He's explosive. He plays the game the right way. So I think Singleton's a guy that they need to re-up. And then I think they're going to start talking to Miles Sanders also about re-up.
Yeah, we had Ryan Paganetti on in hour one, Barrett, the assistant linebackers coach under Doug Peterson, game day, an analytics guy. He mentioned when he would chart Alex Singleton's tackles in practice, the guys thought he was lying because he had so many more than everybody else. He's done an amazing job. Amazing job. He really is maybe the most underrated player on this football team. But Barrett Brooks, thanks for hopping on the program. The middle, Eitan Shander, Harry Mays, you guys might get some cuts live during the show because I can't believe they're going to have these guys practice before cutdown day.
That is unbelievable, man. But hey, I've seen it happen. I mean, remember when Big Red made George?
Andy's playing Patrick Mahomes, by the way. 8:00, Patrick Mahomes is playing, looking like the greatest quarterback who ever lived, and Jalen Hurts is in bubble wrap.
Right.
So, you do the math there. I don't get it.
Absolutely, man.
Double B, always a pleasure, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll get you on playing during the year. That's Barrett Brooks. You can catch him on the middle with, as John just mentioned, Harry Mays and Eitan Shander. I think it was Eitan who did call during the show, by the way. We heard Barrett's phone ring. I think it was Eitan.
Could be.
I want to see that phone, Barrett. We thank Barrett for hopping on board. We'll get him back plenty during the year. All right, Johnny Mac, Jody Mac, we got a couple minutes to come back. Maybe McMullen will get a text between now and when we come back.
10:02, Jody. I got it right here.
Probably till not after 10 o'clock, but we'll see. Come back. I got one more Gardner Minshew point to make before we wrap up this edition of Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.